At exactly 6:49 p.m. on flight day 3 of the Artemis 2 mission, the engines of the Orion spacecraft remained silent. Mission Control cancelled the planned course correction burn. Spacecraft constantly vent materials into space, gases, wastewater, and excess heat. In a vacuum, this venting creates a tiny amount of thrust that can push the capsule off course. The correction burn was scheduled specifically to fix any drift caused by this routine venting. But the telemetry data proved that the initial flight path was so mathematically perfect that the venting had very little impact, and they are holding off for a bigger offset to initiate a correction burn. Welcome to the Curiosity Well podcast. I'm your host, and today we continue our day-to-day coverage of Artemis 2 mission. We are breaking down the events of flight day 3. This day is defined by flawless orbital mechanics, preparations to observe never-before-seen lunar features, and vital medical testing in microgravity. Let's dive right into the timeline. Flight day 3 began with a significant milestone. Following the translunar injection burn the day prior, NASA astronauts became the first humans to be this far from Earth since the Apollo programs in 1972. Commander Wiseman remarked the early part of the day by capturing high-resolution photographs of Earth from one of the Orion's 4 main windows, documenting their outbound trajectory. The morning schedule focused heavily on lunar science preparations. The crew spent several hours configuring the cabin for their upcoming lunar flyby, which is scheduled for Monday at approximately 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. They are preparing their cameras and specific lenses to observe far-side lunar features that have never been seen by the unaided human eye. The crew is targeting the full Oriental Basin, Pierrazzo Crater, and Ohm Crater. Getting the equipment dialed in now ensures that they will not waste a single second when the moon fills the viewport. Spaceflight requires constant, rigorous system monitoring. During a scheduled briefing, officials disclosed the minor anomaly in the Orion service module. A helium pressurization system within the propulsion unit experienced a functional glitch. Flight controllers in Houston immediately routed operations to a redundant backup system. The backup engaged and functioned exactly as designed. The primary mission continued without interruption, validating the intense engineering focus on spacecraft redundancy. The afternoon schedule included crew health and emergency protocols. The astronauts executed a full demonstration of CPR and choking response procedures in zero gravity. Delivering effective chest compression without the assistance of Earth's gravity requires vastly different physics mechanics. The crew practiced using specific restraints and leverage points against the spacecraft bulkheads to generate the necessary downward force. Following the emergency drills, all 4 crew members utilized Orion's flywheel devices to complete their daily physical training. Maintaining cardiovascular conditioning is mandatory to counteract the psychological changes to the human body experiences without gravity. Mission specialist Christina then led to a diagnostic test of Orion's emergency communication system. She utilized the Deep Space Network to transmit data back to Earth, verifying that these emergency channels operate flawlessly at extreme distances. With the technical checks complete, the crew participated in a public affairs event, including a dedicated broadcast by Jeremy Hansen to officials in Canada. At the time of this recording, the last important moment was to plan for a correction burn. The official flight plan dictated that the first Outbound Trajectory Correction burn, known as OTC-1, at 6:49 p.m., this 8-second engine burn was designed to adjust Orion's velocity by exactly 0.7 feet per second. The primary reason for the scheduled burn was to account for the physical venting of the spacecraft. As Orion travels, it vents water and gases into space. In a vacuum, the release of these materials creates a tiny amount of forward and lateral thrust. Flight controllers scheduled OTC-1 to correct any drifts this venting caused. However, teams evaluating the constant stream of telemetry data scrubbed the maneuver. The translunar injection burn was so precise and the venting forces so negligible against their momentum that Orion was perfectly on the optimal flight plan. Flight day 3 demonstrated an absolute precision of modern orbital mechanics. The Artemis 2 crew continues their journey outwards, systematically verifying the Orion spacecraft capabilities. I want you to think about the mathematical exactness required to hit a target moving at thousands of miles per hour through the vacuum of space, calculating variables down to the venting of the internal gases. Until next time, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and stay curious. Thanks for listening.